Hi, good morning, everyone. So I'm Dennis from Valuepotion. So today for this session, I'm going to share with you on how to reduce churn by identifying users at risk. Okay. So why is retention important? Okay, so churn is the opposite to retention, where that to extend the retention that actually increase the possibility of you to get the revenue out of your users. Okay, so here are some key facts here that to share with you guys, where that there are 3 million apps, in App Store, Google and Apple App Store combined, and where that, the consumers are spending 84% of their time in only 5 of those applications, and where that the average app user has in their phone is around like 36 app only, and where that they're only utilizing on 4 to 6 of them. 34% of the user abandon an app because that they lose interest, and 5% increase in customer retention may increase a company's profitability by 75%. And another key fact you need to know is that the life cycle of most of a game application is shortened year over year. Okay. Here is a trend on the DAU after launch on day 150. So that you can see from here that only 25% remains after you have launched a game in 150 days. Here is the retention for day 1 and day 7 and day 30. So from here you can see that for day 1 retention, then we're looking at around 30 to 40%. Day 7, it decreased down to around 20% only, and where that after 30 days retention, then you are looking at below 10%. Okay? So this is really critical for you. Okay, to boost up your retentions by interacting with your users. So here illustrate, I'm in the red part, is the average retention for the mobile games. And on the white bar here is that the increase after the boost from interacting with your users. Okay, so you can see that, the increase, the gap is very significant. So how to increase the retention? Okay, so of course that you need to interact with user, however that the information have to be relevant. So meaning that you have to be able to understand your user behaviors, create the user segmentation, tailor your message to the users to drive the call to actions, to drive the engagement, which is very, very important when it comes to increase on the retentions. Okay, so then how to predict and identify users at risk to avoid churn. Okay, so there are a lot of analytics, right, where that you can look into and to be able to understand your user behavior. And here is something that I wanted to share with you on the algorithm, where that it can actually predict the user before they get churned out. We first look at the customer lifetime value. So lifetime meaning that the time period between the user install your application until they churns out. The value meaning that the revenue that's being contributed by the users throughout the time. So that CLV meaning that the expected revenue that you can get from your users, okay, throughout the lifetime. So there are many different CLV prediction models. So here on the red dot shows the actual data, and the dotted line shows different type of prediction model that's being applied. So as you can see here, there are gaps, from the prediction model that you have selected. Okay, and it's very important that you apply with the accurate CLV model for this. So we first look at the user's activity pattern. So all these graphs were extracted from the actual data where that, from the application where the user have already churned out, okay? Why we use these data to look at the user's activity? Because we wanted to understand the behavior and activity from these users' pattern throughout the lifetime, okay? So the x-axis, meaning the activity that they have performed, and y-axis meaning the time where that activity has happened. So you can see that all these patterns tend to show the correlation between the time and the activity in the linear pattern. So then we apply this activity prediction activity pattern to compare with the actual data. So you can see that the gap is big here, right? The reason for that is this activity pattern prediction does not really consider on the churning rates, okay? Then we're looking into the churning rates of these users, okay, based on their activities. So on the y-axis is the accumulated session that's being performed by these users. And you can see that the trend is going exponentially, decreasing from these graphs. So these decrease will be considered as the churning rate out of these users. When we apply this churning rate to the activity prediction model, then you can see that the trend tend to be very close to the actual data right now. Okay. Then we apply this activity prediction model, okay, to compare with the purchase activity and its revenue. So for this purchase, for the revenue, we multiply these activities with the average revenue that's being contributed by the user. So as you can see, here the gap is still very big. It's caused a lot of variances here if we directly apply this prediction model to it. So here we try to understand the purchase activity patterns from the users. So all these graph being shown here were extracted from the user based on their purchase activity pattern. So on the x-axis is the time where that the purchase activities happened, and the y-axis meaning the value of each of the purchase. So what we have understand, from this is that, first of all, this activity does not happen at the regular interval. Okay, and each purchase from the user, the value of their purchase varies, each time. And for between each purchase activities, there are actually a long time period in between. So take those into the considerations, and where that to combine with the activity prediction model, then we can see that now the prediction actually align with the actual data. So what it concludes is that in order to come up with the accurate customer lifetime value prediction, it have to consist with 3 key elements, which includes lifetime prediction, monetary value prediction, and as well as for the activities. Okay? Okay, now, how to prevent churn? So we went through this prediction model on the COVs, to understand the customer's lifetime and its values. And here that we can actually calculate the churn of the probability of the user's churn rate. So what we did is that we calculate the probabilities distribution from all the users' pattern. They include all the COV, and then we apply the gamma distribution to find out all kinds of churn rate pattern from each application. And eventually we find users' pattern similar to ones among gamma's distribution. And we also apply for the personalization, where we combine each user's data pattern with the average pattern and assign where each user belongs in this probability distribution. Okay. What these can actually apply. So these are some samples which we extracted from the game application. So with such prediction, we not only be able to understand and be able to separate user into different phases, as for new users, active users, or for those inactive users, but applying the probability of churn, that we can actually identify users that is likely to become inactive or is likely to be churned from the application. This is extremely important as we address that, in order to increase your retentions, then you must be able to interact with the user with the right message at the right time. So here actually helps you to identify those users at risk, and so that you can therefore apply the right message to them at the right time to extend such retention. So here is that, okay, it shows that, from each transition period, with such a capability, then as for your marketers, when they come up with creative campaigns that apply to these users, I mean, for most of the time, it's very hard for them to tell, okay, which users are likely to churn out and when should I take these actions on these users, okay? With such prediction model, this can become an automated process, so where that your marketers will be able to predefine these campaigns to be applied to those users who is transitioning from active to risky or from risky to gone phase. So this can, drastically, okay. Well, that actually is my last slide. Okay, it's back. All right. So you can then apply different kind of campaign. That would be like reward campaign or in-app purchase campaign, to drive these users. So to extend the time that they stay in your game application, so that you have a higher possibility to gain higher revenue out of them. Okay. So. Well, thank you very much for attending this session, and if you have any further questions regarding to this, so you can visit our booth. It's just right outside of the hall, okay? Thank you very much.